brings down Vayovoid Avraham Lispoid L'Sarah, that Avraham went to make a hesped for Sarah. Question is, where did he come from? Vayovo, Mehechon, Eis Lischoik, Ve'eis Livkois, Eis Lispoid, Ve'eis Lirkois. Kol echad yesh lo zman, ki yesh lismoya chatan v'kala, v'yesh eis shemitzvah livkois al odom kosher. The kol echad bizmano mitzvah. When Sarah died, Sarah, who was the foundation stone of Klal Yisrael, that came from Yitzchak, Yaakov, the generations, the one who was the Eishes Chayil of Avraham Avinu, and he had a tremendous loss. Avraham, who was sensitive to people's feelings. Avraham, the Baal Chesed, who knew and understood the people's feelings at what it was, and only somebody who in his own self, who understood life and was sensitive to other people's feelings, would know what a loss is. Somebody who helped him in Hachnos Orchim, somebody who helped him in facing the world and bringing forth under all circumstances the words of Hashem. And for him it says, the Gemara says, Ein Mesa. The only one that feels the super pain of a woman is the husband, not the children as much. The father feels the pain of the mother much more than the children. So the question is asked, why is it when Avraham came to Lisbayt Sarah, it says with a small cup? So there are many answers given that he just came from Akedis Yitzchak, he was spiritually real high. Or his father Terach died and he did tshuva, and if he made a husband for Terach. But the answer I heard once, and I hold it's correct, I heard it from my Rosh Yeshiva, Zol the Zunzain, should live for many years. He said that definitely you had a kasha the other way around. Why should Avraham Avinu cry for Sarah? Because really he knew she was a tzadekes and she's going to go to Olam Haba. She had Mesiras Nefesh for Torah, Mesiras Nefesh for period. She's going to the next world. What's the problem? Only for himself as a personal loss. But he accepts Hashem's ways. And her deeds go before her. Of the nitzchias of her deeds go before her. The spirituality of the deeds will continue way, way before her. And therefore, He knows it's a Yom Hadin, and she spiritually will be judged in Olam Haba in the highest seat for a woman. Sorry, Meinu. The foundation stone of the Jewish people. So it's only on the personal level of his personal loss. Because the Gemara says most people are born, Machlikas Hila and Shammai, most people are born at the end. Most people don't make the grade. There's only a few that make the grade. But Sarah definitely made the grade. Definitely went to Olam Haba. So why should he cry? The answer is still a loss. A feeling, a hergish. But he accepts Hashem's ways. Chazal are very smart. The first day you have Aninus. And you have Shiva Yemei Avelis, you have the Shloshim, you have the Shana. If you cry too much, din comes. You don't cry at all, also. If you not make a hesped properly, also it's not proper. You're not allowed to lie in a hesped. Dr. Kana says that doesn't want to have anything written on a stone. Because when you'll go to Olam MS, if it's not exact and not correct, they'll send you down again. You better have nothing on the stone. That's his famous word. What can I say about my mother-in-law? What can I say about my mother-in-law? The proof of the pudding's the pudding. All her children, Baruch Hashem, are religious. All her children are involved in Klal Yisrael. Principal of a school, helping people, involved in Torah and Yiddishkeit activities. And their children, yeshivas, Baltimore yeshivas. Other places. My brother, I don't know where he went, but Benny, the rabbi of Magen David, the old Magen David of the Syrian community. How many people did he bring back to Yiddishkeit? How many people? My mother-in-law helped. I just want to explain one little point of Hakaras HaTorah that my mother-in-law had. She would stay out in front of the shul in Shaarei Tziyon during Purim time, like a beggar asking for money. Yom Kippur, every Yom Kippur also. She would stay outside in order to schnorr money, and not for herself, but for what? For this yeshiva. So she should give me a few dollars for the yeshiva to support the Torah. She would take bizyonos in order to see that her children would study and educate themselves. In those days, my wife grew up, most people sent their kids to work. Syrians send their kids to work to make money. She was one of the few women in families that sent their kids to school. They sent my brother-in-law Benny to school, to go to Yeshiva to learn Torah. And everybody criticized what they're going to do. She says, no. They got to learn Torah. And sent all the girls also to Yeshiva. In those days, a girl didn't go to Yeshiva. So my wife would have to go to the classes of the boys after school hours. That's all I had. And to learn, that's how she knows the root and all the Megillas, etc. Because that's what they did. She pushed in. The result, Avas HaTorah, Mesiras Nefesh v'Torah, spreading Torah. She even came to the Yeshiva here, and she wanted to have her plaque here, to remember her right here. She was here, and that's what she wanted. In her will, she put away some money, and the children chipped in. She should have her plaque right here in this base medrash in Meitzan. She saw here the future, a Torah life of living. Talmidei Chacham will come for you. There's a Makom Torah that will come out of here. And where does she want to put her name? Here. I don't know if it means anything to her, but it means something to me and to her children. That's why the children came here today to give her honor on the yahrzeit of her. Today is this, tomorrow really, but the yahrzeit of her long journey in the base Olam Emes. She knew how to live life and get the most out of life, the best she could. Enjoyed life. Did loads of mitzvahs. She was an Isha Ksheira Shomas L'Kol Bala. She listened to her husband, and she gave up wealth from a wealthy family in Panama to come to America to start a new life with more Yiddishkeit, more Torah, and a more religious life. She was an Isha Ksheira Shomas L'Kol Bala. She listened to her husband and followed her husband and dedicated herself totally to her husband and to her children. They lived in poverty-stricken conditions. That the children should learn Torah and do things properly and chesed, hachnosas orchim, and tzedakahs. And all her children are religious, involved in klali Torah things. And their children, some are in kollels, all involved in Torah. So in that way, you cannot cry totally because, you see, look what she's produced. She left something in the world. She wasn't destroyed. Her mitzvahs go on and her name go on. And she's remembered for good. Sarah Bas Frida lives on. In the world to come, and in her children and in her grandchildren. And may she be a Melitz Yosher for us, that this Makom will become a Makom Torah, and bring Gedolei Yisrael into the world and grow. And also Meila chose for her children and grandchildren to go in the way of Torah and also to see the Gul remain. Amen. I'd like to call on my brother-in-law Binyamin, Rabbi Binyamin. He was the rabbi of Magen David. It's the high point of the Sephardic community, the height of the Sephardic community. The rabbi, now he's retired a little bit. So, but he put many years of hard work serving Klal Yisrael.
B'shuta Rabbanim, B'shuta Kahal. It's extremely difficult for one to be must-be a parent, but it's a little bit easier now than it was during the Shuvah and the Shloshim. Surya Ladechatteshi, Hashem has created an individual so that time has a way of assuaging the pain, of resigning oneself to the fact that this is the way of the world. One will never forget, but one comes to accept it a little bit more. I'd like to say a few words from the Pashat HaShavua and a few thoughts Leilu Nishmat Sarah Bat Farida. In today's Parasha Ki Tetzeh, you have the inyan of Ben Sorer Umoreh. It says, Ki hiye le'ish ben sorer umoreh enenu shomeh v'kol aviv v'kol emmo v'yisiru oto v'lishma alehem v'tafsu bo aviv emmo v'yitziu oto azknei iro v'sha'ar mekomo. There's a whole chapter in Gemara Sanhedrin called Perek Ben Sorer Umoreh, the rebellious son. And there they debate that there are so many restrictions that have to apply before a person can be judged ben Sorer Umoreh, that one rabbi says, Lo haya ben Avra, ela lidrasha. This was only in order to expound on the laws of Torah. But it's really impossible, practically, for a ben Sorer Umoreh to exist. But there's one little lesson that we can learn from it. One of the conditions for ben Sorer Umoreh to be effective was that the call, the voice of the Emo, of his mother, and the voice of the Aviv, the voice of his father, have to be equal. Now that's well nigh impossible for the voice of the father, which is deeper, and the voice of the mother, which is more shrill, to be the same. And in fact, in Gemara Niddah they say, how come the woman has a nicer voice when she sings? Because she was created from the tzela, from the rib, and the rib resonates with sound. But the Adam was created from the afar, and the afar is that noise. I mean, you cannot emit a sound from the afar. So if that's the case, how can the Torah say that you have to have the voice equal to the father and the mother? So there's a nice lesson learned from here. When people raise their children, the voice of the mother and the voice of the father have to agree. If there's going to be an argument, if there's going to be a disagreement, then of course the child is going to lose out. And children are very alert and can pick up very, very quickly if there's any disagreement, and they know how to play one against the other, thinking that they're going to win, and in the long run they're going to lose out. So the Torah is saying that the Kol Aviv and the Kol Emo, especially when it comes to Inyanei Torah, Virat Shamayim, have to be equal. In this respect, I can surely say, being the Bechor, that the voice of the Meruhemet Sarah, Bat Farida, and the voice of the Meruham, Shlomo ben Mazal, were equal. It didn't sound, as far as tone is concerned, but as far as agreement, they were very equal, as far as raising their children. Then we come to another point. There's Evel Shavah there's Eber Shloshim for most relatives, and then for Aviv Ve'emor, there's Shana, a year. We find the remez for the Eber Shiv'ah from the Nazir. That means to say, if the Nazir becomes Tameh, it says, V'gillah Rosho b'yom tahrato, b'yom hashiv'i yigilahinu. He has to wait 7 days if he becomes Tameh in order to resume. We see when Moshe Rabbeinu passed away, Vayivku oto shloshim yom, Aharon, it says, Vayivku oto shloshim yom kol bet Yisrael. So we see there that shloshim yom does exist. Where do we find the remez, and why did the Shulchan Aruch bring down a necessity for Aviv Ve'emor a year, Shana? There are 3 reasons. Reason number 1, with the loss of parents, we become 1 generation further away from Har Sinai when we receive the Torah. So in order to absorb that loss, it takes a year. Another reason is, as we know, Eshet Hayil, what we sing Friday night, was written by Shlomo HaMelech in honor of Sarah. And in Mishleh, one of the last chapters of Mishleh, we see Asher Yiserat Emo, Bathsheba chastised her son Shlomo. Her son Shlomo was already king, even though he was only 12 years old, but he was king. And because he slept late and they couldn't find the keys in order to open up the Hechal, he held up the entire service. His mother banged on the door and waked him up. Is this the type of son that I raised? Who can chastise but a mother or father? So with the loss of a mother or father, that rebuke, that beneficial rebuke, is lost forever. For that reason, we need a year in order to absorb that. And the last reason is that one must reflect on the loss of a parent, because even though the Gemara says in Gemara Sanhedrin, "Lakol yesh temura chutz me'eshed naurim," but even eshed naurim there is a temura. Maybe it might not be like the first one, but there is a temura. But when it comes to mother or father, the loss is irreplaceable. There is never a temura to replace a mother or father. Because of that reason, we have to mourn and have to reflect, and we have to think for 1 full year for all of their lessons, for the lessons that they taught us when they were alive, and the image that we have to hold in front of us while we are still continuing. And because of that, we must take a year to meditate, to reflect, to think, in order to realize the loss and see how we can hold this gain for the future. The Murhamed passed away Erev Shabbat, Mitat Neshika, 4 o'clock in New York. Shabbat began at 7:30. Just before 7:30, all the arrangements were made with the Hevra Kadisha, and then the whole process began of bringing the Nefteret over here to Eretz Israel. HaNeshama Yatzah Ki Tetzeh, Parashat Ki Tetzeh. The next day, Sunday morning, was Parashat Ki Tavo, Ki Tavo al Haaretz. She came to her final resting place in Haram Menachot in Eretz Israel. It happened during the month of Elul. Elul is Atem Netzavim Hayom. We are standing before judgment. Ha'azinu, listen, absorb, digest all of the teachings. And if so, Rizot Beracha. This will be the blessing that she will be Melitzat Yosher Ba'adenu Ba'ad Kol Am Yisrael Me'vromeh.
I'll be here to have a mishmar. What does the night Seder start? 8 o'clock. So bring your little baggies, and we hope to continue the night Seder for a mishmar. Yagdil Torah, Yadir. Let's, the month of Elul, let's move a night Seder.
What do you mean? Dio has a meaning. What do you mean? Dio's not ambiguous.
He's also learning Dio. We said that earlier. When you've got a Tzad Shabbos, so obviously, according to him, you can't learn Dio from both of them. You'll never be able to mechav anything. So learn Dio min adin, like it's learned everywhere throughout the Torah from one Av. You can't have Dio from two Avs. You learn Dio from one Av and the other Av.
Maybe, but it's going to leave it has a lot of things not clear. I'm not satisfied with that because you'll find the Pnei Yeshua, the Meforshim that deal with this issue. We're going to really come down to the issue of, okay, now that we got to pick and choose which Av, how do you pick and choose? You flip a coin,
right.
Whatever you like. You want to be objective like Yossi and make up laws in the Torah like Goy. You gotta. How are you going? Let's say it's true. You pick one and not the other. How do you know which one? How do you know which one? And why is that called a law derived from the Torah? Where did it come from the Torah? You made it up.
But can't we solve half the problem and say that to be the second?
Or an opinion of, when it's not sufficient just to tell me the facts that he learns from one and not the other. It needs an explanation. Why do you call that a binyan of? And how did you flip a coin and decide which one? All of that has to be explained in order to answer the kasha on the Rosh. And if I don't take the Rosh's view, if I take the view of the Yesh Min HaGedolim, it's much simpler. It's very clear what to do. I say Dio, and that's what limits me how I learn. That's how I learned from two verses. So I have a system. The Rosh doesn't have a system. I got to have an explanation of that system. He has a system. We need to understand it.
What do you say about opinion of?
Opinion of is when I learn from two verses in one verse.
No, you were talking in terms of the Rosh.
The Rosh wants to say that you have a binyan of, and it's from two verses, but primarily I learn from one, not the other.
That's called a binyan when you take from two verses, but primarily from one. That's called a binyan of.
A binyan of is a general name for any place where the Torah has a pasuk, and from the pasuk there's a specific instance or a law which is stated in the Torah, right? Like for example, it says when a shiur goes out and gores, right? So then you have laws which are derived from that verse by generalizing. Binyan of means a generalization, right? Like for example, the toldos of Keren are generalized from that verse, right? But in the text of the Brisa of Rabbi Shmuel, where it says one of the shloshes midos is a binyan av mikosav echad, or binyan av mishnei ksuvim. So in the Gemara, what they call a binyan av mishnei ksuvim is called a tzad hashavah. Binyan av means a generalization. Mishnei ksuvim, from one verse or from two verses. So from two verses, the Gemara has a different name for it, called tzad hashava or meh hatzad. Right? Those are the names for that type of deduction or limud. Okay. Now, so at least in the Brisa, so binyan av or generalization is a generic name that covers a lot of different types of legal derivations, right? And tzad hashava is one of them. Tzad hashava is obviously from two verses, or three or four verses, right? Okay, now. So I asked you to explain Yesh Mistapkim. What do they hold? What do they hold?
There's another Yesh Mistapkim, their suffix.
What is their suffix? What is their suffix?
Maybe Daya doesn't apply. from the Tosfos on the Gimel on the base. The Kashi also in the Rashbam says over there, Rav is Mekoyev Bor on Kalim. Wait, is that what his Kashi? Rav doesn't take the Kulas of Bor over there.
Rav in Perchamaniach,
Yeah.
he's Mechayev on Kalim.
Yeah.
So he holds Mishor Lamad.
So that's a
Which he holds it's a shore. A shore is not Potter on Kalim. A shore is Chayev on Kalim.
Yeah, then
The
it's
Rav
going to be
holds-
Potter in Rishus Rabbin. I don't know if it's
No, he's
Karen.
learning from Karen.
Okay, then that's what I was going to say. Would it be Chetzi Nezek?
No, Tosus answered that. It's not Chayev Thomas.
Not shy.
How many?
Yesh Min Stop is just a little point. I wanted to register that view as a third view. Why? Because when I get to the Rashbam and the Tosfos, we're going to have other Rishonim that I don't want to be like narrow-minded that there's only two boxes and he's got to fall in this box or that box. There's other boxes, and maybe we'll create 4, 5, and 6 boxes. But that's the only reason I wanted to register, even in the Rosh, we have a machlokas, register another possibility. But what they actually hold, so I wanted to make a deal like this, that the Rosh, he only rejected the Yesh Min Gedolim view to learn the kulas of both